In order to be prepared for higher education, we need to take a glimpse into the world through the eyes of those living it. Hi, I'm your host, Ashreya Sirivol. I have questions about the future, which is why I am going to deep dive into the journeys of college students and graduates, exploring the majors and paths they've chosen. Welcome to Scholar Stories, the podcast, where we bring you practical advice and inspiring stories. A graduate of Lovejoy High School in Dallas, Texas, Akshat is sophomore at Lasell University, where he is majoring in computer science while making a significant impact on the court as a key player for the Lasell basketball team, Lasell Lasers. Lasell competes in the Great Northeast Atlantic Conference as a part of its Division III athletics program. This is a huge accomplishment that very few high school students in the United States can achieve. His dedication to excellence shines through in both his academic achievements and his leadership and performance as an athlete. With a strong foundation in STEM and sports, Akshat exemplifies how passion and hard work can drive success across multiple fields. Akshat, welcome to my podcast.
Hi, Ashreya. Thank you for having me on. I think what you're doing with this podcast is very great.
Of course. Can you tell us a little bit about how your interest in sports started? Was it a passion from your childhood, or did someone inspire you to take up sports?
I've been playing basketball since about five. I remember the first time seeing basketball was when my dad was watching a game. I think it was Kobe Bryant playing on the Lakers versus the Denver Nuggets, and I remember just being fascinated by the swift movements and shooting the ball into a basket and playing defense and just watching the intensity and speed of the game. It just made me fall in love with it, and I remember my parents bought me a little mini hoop that would range from 4 feet to 6 feet, and they put it inside the house. And I remember I would just be shooting on it and playing with it all day long. I broke a window on accident one time. I broke the blinds, just when I was shooting the ball, playing basketball. And it started since then. And since then, I've played at the highest levels of school, of travel team, and now playing in college. And I think I'm very blessed to have had that opportunity and to be playing it since I was young. And I think one of my life goals is to continue to play, and when I'm done playing, continue to make an impact on the sport.
Yeah, you have such a vivid memory, and it's great that you've come so far from breaking blinds to now going and pursuing college basketball and beyond that.
Yeah.
Did you have an early interest in sports, or was it always just basketball?
I think all aspects of sports interested me. I played baseball from I think kindergarten to 10th grade. I played a little bit of soccer, but for me, it was always just a holistic interest in sports. Obviously, my dedicated interest was to basketball, but then I was also paying attention to all the other sports. I remember um, in my elementary school, my PE teacher used to ask every day, like the scores of the games of the previous night. And because I was so interested and always checking the scores and always obsessed with the analytics and who won and who lost, I would always be the one to raise my hand and answer the question. And it got to a point where the teacher had to stop asking me. Like she wouldn't call on me for a few weeks because she knew that if she called on me and asked me that I'd get it right and I'd get whatever the prize was. So I think that interest for sports has always been there, and it's continued till now. Where now my absolute favorite sports are basketball and cricket, and so I keep up with those sports. But even with other sports, I'm always involved. I'm checking it out on social media. I'm looking at interesting analytics. But I think with sports, it's always been the competitiveness and the love for the game that I've always enjoyed. A lot of people around me will say I'm a competitive person because I just love to win. And so that internal motivation has always been an integral part of me and the way I approach things in my life. And so I think that's why I've always had such a deep, um, extensive connection with sports.
Wow, you're very well rounded in many sports, and it's inspiring how you have the passion, motivation, and interest to follow them online and take what you learned there into your life. So I just wanted to ask, did you watch the Olympics?
Oh, of course, I watched the Olympics. I watched Team USA get gold in the basketball events, but I also watched a myriad of other events too. I watched India when they were doing shooting. I watched archery. I watched swimming, the 100-meter dash. I watched all of it. It was very, very entertaining and very, very cool.
Yeah, I also watched it and I thought that it was really cool.
Yeah.
So, back to the college application process. How is how different is the college recruiting process for a high school athlete than a regular college application process?
So I think the main difference is for an athlete that wants to play in college, they have to get into contact with the coach of that college. So in addition to filling out the regular application, you also have to develop a connection with the coach of that college. And this can be through a text message, through an email, through an in-person visit, through a Zoom call. And once you complete those things, you start to build a relationship with the coach. And the coach can help with a couple different things. First of all, they can help you get admitted to the school if they in a lot of schools the coaches have the ability to push your application and to tell the admissions officers like, hey, this is someone that can really provide a positive impact to our athletics program, so we want you guys to put a focus on them and try to get them admitted. The second thing they can do is they can speed up the application process. I know for some of the schools that I was being recruited by, once I contacted the coach and told them, look, I'm applying, the coach was able to label me as a priority applicant, and that helped speed up the recruiting process and showed me what type of scholarships and credit that I'd received from that school. And the other thing is developing a relationship with the coach can help you also learn about the campus. Obviously, the coach is always on the campus and knows how the culture and the environment is at that school. So when you talk to the coach, they'll tell you like, okay, this is kind of how our school is, and it's up to you to see if you would be a good fit for this school. And so I think that relationship with the coach is the main difference that you see outside of being a regular applicant versus an athlete. And I think another thing I want to add is being an athlete, you also want to see like what kind of opportunities you would have at that school, right? You want to see like, okay, does that roster of that school, do they have a lot of incoming players that are returners from last year? How is their incoming recruiting class? How is the success of the team? Is there a new coaching staff that's coming in? And so once you do all of that analysis, you'll start to see that, okay, there's an admission side to being an athlete, but then there's also the side of actually being an athlete there and if you would be successful in that environment over there.
Yeah, it's great how you're able to get to know the coach and how they help you speed up the application process. Does your high school coach also help with contacting college coaches?
Yeah, the high school coach does help in that process. I was fortunate to have a high school coach who has been around the game for a long time, so he was able to make phone calls for me. He was able to reach out and see which schools had available openings. He's been exposed to a wide variety of people and people that are, college scouts, college coaches, college players. And so with that experience and that exposure, it helps players like me who want to play in college because they can gather all that information and provide it to me.
It's amazing how your coach was able to help you. Were you also recruited to any other schools for basketball, and what made you choose Lasell over any other school?
Yeah, so I was also recruited to Bethel College in Kansas. I was, being looked at by some schools in Chicago. I was being looked at by the University of Dallas, UTD, and other schools that had a good mix of academics and sports. And the reason why I chose LaSalle was because I thought it was it had a good opportunity for me to play basketball and grow as an individual. The school's in Boston, and so me being away from my parents, I thought, okay, it's an opportunity for me to grow and develop those skills of being an independent young man in this world. And I also thought that Boston was a great city for someone who wanted to be in STEM and be in technology. There's a lot of other great universities there, a lot of great businesses. And so being right in that city and in that area, I thought that it would provide me with great opportunity and um, allow me to grow not just on the court.
Yeah, Boston has a lot of great opportunities for technology, and it's great how you want to become independent. Can you tell us why you decided to choose computer science as your major?
So I chose computer science because I've always been good at math. And so computer science is essentially an application of math. Um, it requires a lot of problem solving skills, a lot of, um, you know, pattern recognition. The other reason is because the world is trending in that direction of artificial intelligence and machine learning dominance. And so I wanted to be well versed in those areas. Obviously, the most common path for a computer science, data science student like me is to become a software engineer. And I'm looking at that path, but I'm also open to a variety of other things, such as being a data analyst, being a data scientist, pursuing my master's, my PhD. And another goal that I had down the line was to pursue an MBA and go into the business world. I think people like Mark Cuban, who is the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, is someone that I look up to and that's inspired me because he's someone who studied business and was a self-made billionaire. So, being in the business world, being an investor, being someone who looks at finance and startups, all of that, that also intrigues me a lot. So, I don't know exactly what I'll do 5, 10 years down the line, but for now, I'm studying computer science, studying data science, and um, I'll let things flow on as they come.
It's cool that you want to go further down the path of computer science and AI, especially because it's becoming a lot more popular. And it's amazing that you have people to look up to like Mark Cuban. So, speaking of that, can you tell us about your role as a software engineer intern at Jolly AI? And how did you secure this position? And what skills are you gaining from that experience?
Yeah, great question. So I started as a software engineering intern at Jolly AI earlier this summer, and I'll be continuing there for this semester and potentially even the future. Jolly AI, it's a startup that's based in Hyderabad, and through some family connections that I know, I was able to get with them. And actually, the CEO and founder is my own uncle. He studied computer science at Purdue University, and he's one of the greatest, best technology minds that I've been around. And he had an idea to develop an AI app for photographers to automate processes for them. I've been learning all like full stack technology, so from back end to the database to the front end and to the AI and machine learning involved, all the algorithms that are involved, computer vision. I've been able to dip my toes into um, multiple realms of the app development world, and I think that's all been a fantastic experience for me.
It's cool that you have those connections and are learning a lot there. App development seems really fun. You also
Yep.
tutored students and volunteered at the Karya Siddhi Hanuman Temple in Dallas. How have those experiences impacted your personal growth and your approach to leadership and service?
So, Karya Siddhi Hanuman Temple has been a temple that's very dear to my heart. From the age of 5, when the temple was built here in Frisco, Texas, I was someone who always went there with my family, and I actually started out as a student um, in Karya Siddhi Hanuman Temple, and my dad since then started out as a volunteer and is now one of the lead volunteers there for the Bal Datta classes that take part with Karya Siddhi Hanuman Temple. So I started off as a Bal Datta student at the temple, and I learned a lot about my religion of Hinduism, and I also took classes in Telugu and Hindi and Sanskrit. So I was able to learn a lot of different things through Bal Datta, and you know, seeing how I was able to learn about my culture I saw the great impact that Ball Datta really had on the Indian community here in Dallas. And I thought, why not continue to serve the community by being a volunteer after I was done? So once I finished all of the courses there at Baldata, returned to be a volunteer. I helped with the class processes. I helped make sure that everyone had the materials that was needed, and I helped maintain smooth flow of the transitions between the classes. And I also helped with the preparation of the food in the temple. And now, I still go to the temple a lot to pray and to continue to get close. Baldatta and the Kari Siddhi Hanuman Temple are places that are, extremely important and valuable to my family and I, and they will continue to be as we live here in Dallas.
You were able to learn more languages there and become close to your culture as a student. And after that, you became a volunteer, which is really amazing. Let's keep talking about your high school years. You actually switched high schools, so can you explain how and why you did that?
My first house that I grew up in Murphy, Texas, and I went to Plano East High School for 11 years in that area, so the Plano ISD district. And the reason for my move was because I wanted to pursue better opportunities, and Lovejoy High School had that for me in terms of academics and basketball. And so,
Yeah, it's great that you were able to pursue better basketball at Lovejoy. Alongside basketball, you also have a very impressive academic record. As president of the National Honor Society, you managed a large number of members and led community projects. What were some of the challenges you faced, and what did you learn from that experience?
so being the president of the National Honor Society was a great honor and something that I worked really hard for. There was an initial application that I had to fill out, and then almost 3 rounds of, technical and personality or just interviews that where the committee and the sponsors had to learn about me and the skills that I could bring to the table as a leader. And so through that challenging process, I was picked from many great leaders and students from my school. And I think one of the main challenges of being the president of the National Honor Society was converting from an in-person system of NHS to an online slash digital system. So I was the president during, the COVID-19 crisis. And so we weren't able to go to school and we weren't able to conduct NHS with the traditional processes. So we had to convert everything to online. So we had to do our community service projects through a digital medium. We had to collect hours through, digital formats, and all the club process from meetings to communicating with our members. We had to do all of that online, and I was the person who spearheaded that movement. And it was really challenging because it's something that hadn't been done before, and to set like a new precedent for something, it always takes a lot of hard work and sacrifice. And so I remember being very stressed out at those times and figuring out like, okay, is this gonna work? Is this not gonna work? And going through those ups and downs and obstacles um, was a great learning moment for me. Being the president provided me with invaluable experience and a lot of memories that I'll remember forever. And I think it's helped me develop as a leader and provided me with skills that I will continue to apply in my daily life for the rest of my life.
It's so cool that you were president, and I know you must have done a great job handling everything during COVID, even if it was stressful at the time. And it's also so cool that you were able to take that leadership to your senior high school, which you said was the biggest chapter in the US, which is really awesome.
Hmm.
You were also selected as the Macmillan basketball program's most valuable player during the 2019 to 2020 season, as well as being one of only 22 players out of 40,000 UIL varsity basketball players in Texas to be recognized for the All-State Academic Elite Team, which is quite an accomplishment. Can you tell us how you were able to manage all your time and activities so well?
Well, I think that was the biggest challenge that I had to face is time management. My day kind of looked like this. So I would wake up around 7:30, get ready for school, maybe do some homework that I had, then go to school. And then around I'd spend, around 8 hours at school, and then from 4 to about 7, I'd have basketball practice pretty much every day. Even in the off season, I'd have practice. We'd lift weights, we'd play basketball, obviously. And after all of that, I would get home and I'd be dead tired. It would be really, really hard to stay awake because I just spent around 13 hours at school and was, physically exhausted and mentally exhausted. So I would usually, take a nap for about half an hour to 45 minutes, shower, eat, and then I'd get to my work around 9 o'clock. And from about 9 to 12, I would do most of my work. And most nights it would be even later. Like I would sleep around 1 or 2 because of how much work I had and how late I had to start. And so this started from about ninth grade onwards, and so I was pretty accustomed to that grind. And I knew that even though I didn't want to give up sleep, sometimes I had to. But I would make it up for sleeping more on Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, and I'd somehow balance my sleep. But I mean, I think occasionally I'd have times when I'd get sleepy during class and I'd fall asleep during class. And um, I think all of that is just a testament to how much I really put on my plate, which it was a lot. It was a lot. I wanted to be the best in the classroom and I wanted to be the best on the court. And so that required me to sacrifice somewhere. And I think at that moment, that's when I really learned the price you had to pay to be great. And that's that you had to sacrifice some things. Like there would be some days where I would barely get to talk to my parents because of how much work I had to do and how much practice I had. And, I think all of that, all of those experiences and all of what I had on my plate taught me how to manage my time, how to plan out my day. I would use a Google Calendar to plan out my day. I would use this app called Habit, which would teach me like how well I was doing with my habits. I'd have like, a calendar to show me like what I would have on a daily basis in terms of my events. I'd even have like a kind of like a homework manager to see like, okay, this is the homework that I have today. These are the projects that are due. These assignments are due this day. This is when I have my exam, my quizzes. And so using all of those apps to help me keep everything on track was something that was very crucial for me. And all of those things combined have turned me into someone who loves to be productive and who loves to continue to learn to be productive. I watch a lot of YouTube videos on productivity. That space is really interesting to me because I want to see how the best minds and the best athletes operate. Every human has the same amount of time, right? Every day. Every day has 24 hours. But the people who are most successful are the people who know how to manage that 24 hours the best.
Sports are very rigorous, teaching discipline, and your passion to be great and able to manage everything is inspiring. Now, let's switch and talk about your time applying to college. If you had more time, is there anything different you would do on your college applications?
I think something I'd do is probably start my essays a little bit earlier. I started them around the beginning of the school year. Maybe next time when I apply, I'd start maybe a little bit earlier in the summer. I think another thing that I would do probably to talk a little bit more about basketball within my essays. A lot of people are telling me that I shouldn't be talking about sports because it's probably an idea that's overused and cliche, something that wouldn't help me stand out from the pack. But going back on it, I wish I'd probably talked about it a little more because basketball is really my passion and is something that I love very, very dearly. I think, in a different world or in a different opportunity to do it again, I would probably talk a little bit more about basketball.
Yeah, that's great advice to start your essays earlier. And of course, I know that you must have wanted to put basketball in your essays, especially because you were so passionate about it. Did you use any college counselors? And if so, were they helpful?
Yeah, so I used the college counselor from my high schools and they were pretty helpful. They guided me on when to finish certain things. They helped me submit my transcripts. They helped me on reporting AP scores, reporting activities. When I asked them to review my application and my essays, they were able to do that too. And so they played an important role for me in my process.
Yeah, it's great that you had someone to help you throughout the application process and you had another set of eyes to look at your essays. As a first generation college athlete recruit, what are some challenges you faced?
I think the main challenge that I face is the connections. My parents are immigrants from India and they don't know that much about, didn't know basketball when I started this whole thing. And so I kind of had to go out and build my own connections. Whenever I'd play on teams, whenever I'd play against new players, I had to connect with them. I had to talk to them. I had to follow them on social media apps, get their phone numbers so I could talk to them in the future. I had to go to different camps. I had to consistently be around the game, whether that meant to be playing the game, whether that meant to be on social media and follow different people and look at and pay attention to the news and what, different writers and scouts are talking about, or whether that be just online watching the game and just being around it as much as possible. And I think the other thing that I faced that was challenging was being an Indian player in the game of basketball. The Indian and South Asian demographic is very, very underrepresented in the game of basketball. And so being someone who didn't look like everyone else on the basketball court kind of puts me at a disadvantage because I never passed the eye test. And I've had to deal with that challenge because people would tell me, oh, like, you don't belong here. You're not supposed to be here. I would have people telling me to like focus on my education and not sports. And I'd even have people that looked like me tell me, you're small, you don't look like everyone else, you're probably not going to be good. And so, with all of these different naysayers and doubters and haters, it inspired me to continue to be the best. When I was younger, I never really had anybody to look up to that was Indian, that looked like me, that spoke the same language like Telugu as me. There was nobody who I could turn on the TV and say, like, wow, that's someone who I want to be like. And that's someone who has experienced the same things as me and who knows the shoes that I'm trying to, who knows like the path that I'm trying to take. And so my goal is to be somebody who's a trailblazer and who sets a new path for kids that look like me in this game. I've seen how much basketball has impacted me and how much I love the game and how much it teaches me about life. And so I want to be somebody who someone could turn on the TV or someone could come up to and be like, wow, like I admire you and I want to be like you. And my goal is also to give back to the game. So whenever I see not just Indian basketball players, but any basketball players who need help or who are struggling, like I say, yo, you can hit me up anytime. Like I can help you out with this stuff. I know I've been through the fire and I want to help you. And so I want to be a trailblazer for Indian basketball and continue to inspire people to continue to chase their dreams. Like I'm gonna be someone who says, okay, if that you really love this game or whatever game you like to play, chase it. Chase it until you can't anymore, and don't have any regrets. Like I told myself, okay, I got accepted into some very, very prestigious computer science and engineering programs. I got accepted to UT Austin. I got accepted to University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, Purdue, and many other programs that have like top 10, top 15 computer science and engineering programs. But I decided to go to Lasell because I wanted to be different. I wanted to chase my dream. I wanted to continue to be an athlete. Because when I'm 45, 50 years old and I can't play the game of basketball at a high level anymore, I don't want to sit there and be like, okay, I didn't chase it. I didn't go as far as I could. Even though I knew I was good enough and I had the opportunities, I just gave up and I just settled. I didn't want that for myself. And so, chasing my dream has been an amazing decision for me and it's something that has been very challenging. It hasn't been an easy path and it won't be an easy path going forward. But I think it's something that will provide me with a lifetime of satisfaction.
It's inspiring how you built up your own connections and followed the sport. That might have taken a lot of time and effort. Also, being an Indian athlete, you are and will be an inspiration to future young athletes because the US needs more diversity in sports. So,
Yep.
did you take the SAT or the ACT? And do you think it helped boost your college applications? And how much weight do colleges put on GPA and SAT scores while recruiting athletes from high school?
Yeah, so I took the SAT. I did not take the ACT. And I think I did pretty well on it. I got a high score. I even scored a perfect score on the math section, 800 out of 800 points. And I think that the SAT does play an important role because studies have shown for many universities that high performance on the SAT usually correlates to success in college. I know they made the SAT optional, a lot of universities because of COVID, but a lot of them are reinstating the SAT now and making it mandatory now, SAT and ACT, but standardized testing. And even though it does play an important role, I don't think it's everything. For many schools, they look at applications holistically. So they look at SAT, they look at GPA, they look at rank, they look at course difficulty, they look at improvement throughout high school, and they look at extracurriculars. They look at extracurriculars, awards, how much those things are related to the major you're applying to. So it's important to build an overall skill set and to build your application as a whole rather than just focusing on SAT or just focusing on extracurriculars. Making sure you excel and do great in every one of those character or categories is super important to succeeding in the college application game.
It's super impressive how you got a perfect score on the math section of the SAT, and that's some great advice saying that even if the standardized tests are important, they're not everything. Finally, can you share a little bit about your routine before a basketball game? Is there a way you get rid of any nervousness, and how do you feel while playing on the court?
Yeah, so my pregame routine usually consists of consuming a good meal, so eating um, like quick carbs, so carbs that burn really quickly to provide me with instant energy. So that could be pasta, PBJ sandwich, bananas. I usually eat something that can, fuel me well for the game. And then I meditate. Meditation is a big part of my life, and it's something that's helped me keep my calm and my composure during high stress and high pressure environments like a basketball game. So I usually meditate for around 15 to 20 minutes before a basketball game. And then I use music. Music is also very important for me. And I do a lot of visualization. I think visualization helps with um, performing well in the game. So I visualize succeeding. I visualize making a three-pointer. I visualize making the right pass. I visualize, um, you know, going to the rim and making a layup. Like I visualize different things that I want to happen. And even if they don't always happen, I think it puts me in the right mindset for the game. And then I make sure to stretch. Stretching is really important for me to make sure that I feel good and I feel loose for the game. And what you said about nervousness, I think I'm nervous before every game. Like I feel the butterflies in my stomach. My hands do get a little sweaty, and I'm always nervous. But I think those nerves are natural. I think with anything that means something to you in your life, you're always gonna have nervousness about it because nothing is ever perfect. I've had some horrible games. I've had some amazing games, and enjoy it, because a lot of the moments that you experience, you're not going to get them back, So just, going into it and wishing for the best, trying to enjoy the game, trying to be in the moment, be present, is really important and kind of sums up how I approach the game and my pregame routine.
Yeah, that's a very good routine and advice for athletes before a game. Thank you so much, Akshat, for sharing your journey through academics and basketball. You're very inspiring, and I know that a lot of people will follow your path, pursuing sports in college and beyond. With your commitment and drive, I know you'll be successful at Lasell and whatever you choose to do after that. So, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me on, Australia, and you are a great interviewer. And I wish you the best of luck with this podcast and with your journey moving forward. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Remember, the journey to college is unique for everyone, and exploring different majors and career paths can open up exciting new possibilities. Keep asking questions, stay curious, and don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to stay tuned for more inspiring stories from different college students and graduates. Until next time, this is Ashreya Sirivol signing off from Scholar Stories.